Greetings and welcome to House of R, a Ringerverse podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network. I'm Mallory Rubin, and she is here, real role reversal, to talk about her animated boyfriend, Maul. It's Joanna Robinson.
Rubin! I'm not sure it sounds the same as Kenobi.
In your best Kenobi voice. You tried. You tried. And Maul, a lot of his life is about effort and the hustle and trying. So I think he'd respect it.
Yeah.
We are here to talk about the 2-part premiere of the newest Star Wars show, Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. You've got a colon in there.
And
you've got
hyphen.
A dash in there. It's all happening. And we will get to it right after this. Okay, Joe, before we dive into today's mini Maul celebration,
a bite-sized snack.
Yeah. Quick one. You're packing up your life to move to a different city. I am heading to the airport in mere hours to go up to the Bay Area for rewatchables, but we love Maul. So even though this is going to be a little bit briefer than our typical dalliances with Sith Lords or otherwise, we wanted to spend a couple minutes here with one of our favorite Star Wars baddies. And we've got some other stuff coming on the feed as well, because we've already recorded the next pod. We did it yesterday. It's going to run in a couple days. Look at that. We can say with utter and complete confidence that Buffy Season 4, Part 2
in the can
will be in your feeds on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Get excited. And probably not going to be too long of a wait before we do Season 5. We're excited to keep going with the Buffy rewatch. That's been a blast. We will also be continuing our Chris Nolan rewatch on the journey, the path, the days, weeks, months
trek
toward the Odyssey.
Yeah.
And up next is Memento. So that's exciting. Will you come to the studio covered head to foot in tattoos? Have you decided?
He's not covered head to foot, but I might,
thigh tat?
I might
thigh tat?
Unbutton the
chest tat.
Show you a little chest tat. Yeah. Why not?
People are going to expect it now that you've said it,
I'll think about it.
Your adoring public is going to wait with bated breath. Joanna, how can everybody follow along?
Oh, what a great question. Listen, why don't you subscribe to the pod? That's a good idea. Yeah. Follow us on social. I'm just going to zoom through this. We don't have a lot of time here today. It's Dally, right? So follow us on social. You know where to find us. We're on Instagram, TikTok, etc.
At House of Our Pod.
I was about to say House of Our Pod, our own feed. What a thrill, what a joy. hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com. We've already gotten some of your Buffy responses, some of your Memento anticipation. I want to hear your Maul thoughts.
Yeah.
I want to hear all about them. Oh, and also, if you're one of the many people who've been emailing us or commenting, like, where are the other Daredevil episodes? We never said we were doing that show week to week. That was never a promise we made from us to you. So will we check back in? Probably, hopefully, maybe. But it was never our plan to go week to week on that show. So yeah.
There you go.
With love and respect.
Love and respect to Matt Murdock, but not to Heather.
Never.
Spoiler warning for today's pod. Obviously, the first 2 episodes of Shadow Lord, chapters 1 and 2, the dark revenge and sinister schemes. I'm loving these episode names. They're so moody.
Very good.
But here's the thing. We're also going to talk about other Maul canon today. We're going to be dotting it in, some memories, celebrating just some favorite moments that we consider crucial. We're not doing a deep dive of the first 2 episodes, but we're sort of like using the premiere of this show to talk about the premise of the show and why it's interesting, why it positions Maul as a character in an interesting moment of the Star Wars timeline, but his timeline most of all, and how the framing of the story so far has pulled on some of our fondest ties to the character from either the past or future of the timeline. So if it's happened in the Clone Wars or Rebels or Phantom Menace or Solo, #make Solo 2 happen.
You're going to spend a lot of time on that hologram?
I know you didn't doubt that I'd get #make Solo 2 happen in there. And guess what? I did. It could come up today.
It's been 27 years of Darth Maul. There are so many Star Wars fans for whom Maul has always been here.
I know. It's amazing.
That's really cool. What a cool
Sometimes
character.
He's been Darth Maul, Sith Lord. Sometimes he's just tried really hard to pretend he's a Sith Lord, and sometimes he's just Maul. Sometimes he's a crime syndicate boss. Sometimes he's walking around like a metal spider on a trash planet.
Sometimes he's just half a guy.
Always a full guy, that Maul. He's the best. We are excited to just talk about why he's such a fun and interesting character and all of his many variations. So let's get to our mini Maul dive.
Let's do it.
Okay, Joanna, season 1 of Shadow Lord, the latest, not just Star Wars show, but animated Star Wars show, and a lot of the great Maul canon has existed and come to us in the animated form, is 10 episodes, but it's airing over 5 weeks. They're doing 2 a week. So we got 2 episodes already. The finale lines up quite nicely for May the 4th. Maybe that's just a fun way to have a great Star Wars moment. Maybe it means something is happening in that finale that will be May the 4th be with you, big Star Wars thing on the connected canon front. Who knows? But guess what? Question that we don't have to ask is, will the finale end by setting up the future of the story? Because they already renewed it. They renewed it for season 2 before season 1 even premiered. And season 1 is getting really good reviews. So people seem excited about the show. For Star Wars animated enthusiasts, or maybe for people who are just diving into the animated verse for the first time because they're interested in Maul or they want some good Star Wars, this is a fun little moment. So let's start kind of just in the big picture sense. Like, why do you love Maul as a character? And what is your relationship to his animated canon in particular, and to Star Wars animation as a way to explore character canon beyond what we get in the live action?
Before I answer that question that you so beautifully put to me, and I will, can I just say really quickly, because now you have my theory brain going.
Yeah.
I've only watched the first 2 episodes. They sent us a bunch of screeners. I only watched the first 2 episodes. Rare moment of restraint for me.
Yeah.
But here are some of the other episode titles, right? Whispers in the Unknown, Pride and Vengeance, Inquisition, Night of the Hunted, Call to the Oblivion, The Creeping Fear, Strange Allies, and the finale is just called Finale, which is a really weird name for a finale of a show that's getting another season, to just call it Finale. So is it a finale of what? You know, is there a double meaning in that? I've also seen some theories, and again, I have not watched ahead.
Is it a to be announced title for that episode?
Possibly. Very possibly. I am willing to consider that. But it's not written that way, because usually if that's the case, it would be like TBA, you know? So either it's like a fake title that they put out there, or, you know, or it's like New Avengers and it will change, or who knows, whatever.
Is there an asterisk?
Chapter 10,
Thunderbolts?
Chapter 10, Vader's in this one, you know, who knows, something like that. I know that that's something a lot of people are asking, will we see a Maul Vader fight? Because if they can sneak a couple fights in for Obi-Wan and Vader, why couldn't they do it for Maul and Vader? So something to think about. I don't know the answer. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah. I will be astonished if over the course of this show, whether it's in season 1, I don't know, finale would be a great place, but over the course of this show,
if Vader
will be making more than one appearance, because animated Vader is obviously Vader is a through line of Star Wars more broadly, but Filoni loves to get Vader into the animated mix.
They have no chill when it comes to Vader.
It.
So
I respect it.
That's where we are. Okay. So why do we love Maul, or why do I love Maul? This is a really easy answer for me, because, you know, we've been talking a lot about Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Maul really just fits into that sort of that larger sort of Loki, you know, Sawyer, Spike, Jaime Lannister sort of archetype for me. He's less on a redemption arc, and they have said very clearly in the show, we are not redeeming Maul in the show. That's not something we're interested in. He's a baddie, he stays a baddie. That's the idea. But the thing about Maul is there's so much nuance to, you know, the shape that his evil takes.
Yes.
And Spike, and I think Spike and Loki especially, if his cause aligns with your cause, he's going to work with you.
Right.
And it's going to be really fun, and he's going to be really good at it, and you're going to be really happy to have him on your side. And then he's going to be like, did you forget I was evil? Oops, I am. So, you know, that's just the fun of Maul. I think Sam Witwer's performance is absolutely incredible to transform a character who showed up in The Phantom Menace and looked really cool, but was just kind of you know, with love and respect to Peter Serafinowicz, who did the voice for Maul in The Phantom Menace, just not much there, but besides the really cool look and the kicky flips and stuff like that. And so for Sam Witwer, a huge Star Wars fan, to leverage the work he had already done in, you know, video games and animation for Star Wars, to get this gig, to then just own this character and be so good at what he does here that Maul becomes something they can't resist bringing back again and again and again, because he's so fun to watch and to listen to. And then Sam Witwer becoming like, already being this huge Star Wars nerd, but becoming this like, he's like, don't call me an encyclopedia, I'm a holocron. Like, he's just like this huge font of Star Wars nerdery. So he's like excellent on the conventions circuit or on a podcast or whatever the case may be. He knows everything about Star Wars. And so for him to have like a co-creator credit on this show, so for this character that he took over, but then like has really taken over, that's a really cool story too. And it's a story, again, I'd say I talk about a lot when we talk about Spike on Buffy, of like an actor seeing an opportunity and just really giving something his all the juice that he has, and becoming just an indispensable, undeniable, compulsively watchable kind of character. And that's what Sam has done for this role. And I admire him for that.
I love it. He, Witwer Nerd King is just such a prominent part of our lives, consuming stories that we love and worlds we love for so long. I've still got some notes for beloved Crashdown and BSG. Could have gone differently for him, but a wonderful Sam performance. Yeah. Aided in Being Human, one of my favorites, obviously. But not just Maul, but his voice work and his performances across a number of different Star Wars animated properties, live action, video game, central to video game canon, etc. Like, he's just been such an inextricable part of the Star Wars experience for fans for so long. And he's been embodying Maul for so long. We're into the second decade of it, and longer than that for the character, but just for Sam's connection to that role. And so for him to feel such a deep tie and investment in continuing to explore Maul's story, and also just to your point, like to have that authorship and partnership with the creators is just a really cool thing. And we love the enthusiasm, and when that permeates into the quality of the story, that's like always a rewarding thing if you as a fan are invested in a character in the story. It's great. It's also my approach to this show is so different from how I would usually feel about sort of like it's a sequel to a prequel to a, you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those Star Wars stories that's like really jammed in the middle of like a bunch of other stuff. And like, sometimes that could bear tremendous fruit. And then sometimes you're like, are you just doing this to do it? Or like, I feel so hemmed in by what I already know about this world or this character or something like that. But hearing Sam Witwer talk about like the questions, the psychological, philosophical, emotional questions he has about Maul as a character and what he wants to explore with this show, it doesn't feel like we're doing it just to do it. It really feels like, to go back to like Obi-Wan, like the Obi-Wan show, I just don't really feel like they had some questions about Obi-Wan they really wanted to answer. They were just sort of like, wouldn't it be cool if Obi-Wan and little Leia like bopped around and all this other stuff happened? And sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't. But like, I did not feel like they fundamentally had some like really cool questions and answers that they wanted to get through on that show. What about, wouldn't it be cool if Obi-Wan got really sweaty slicing sushi and the baking many suns? Disgusting. It didn't smell good. Didn't smell great. It looked great, what I have to say. It looked great. I love the Spike comp. Yeah, I think the combination of the character archetype that you're identifying, which is so compelling, and the genuine open set of questions for Maul in this slice of his life. Like, it is interesting. One of the things that really everybody involved with the show, Witwer, the creative team, the writers, the directors, have been hammering is the idea that like you don't need to do any homework. No prep, you don't need to have read the Son of Dathomir comics, though I'd recommend them. They're great. You don't need to have seen Clone Wars or Rebels, though I'd recommend them. They're great. You can just come in cold and start here. One of the things that we obviously like to do on this podcast is talk about the connections we have to the stories, and also then provide that context for viewers who might be coming in. But it doesn't, even though it is positioned in such a fascinating spot in the timeline where there is simultaneously a lot of open room to play. Like this show, we'll run through some of the timeline beats in a second here, but this show is set right after Order 66. They haven't said like this is the exact date, but it basically said an 18 BBY, Order 66, 19 BBY. And basically that means that this show is going to be telling story contemporaneously with what Bad Batch just covered. And as everyone will recall, when Bad Batch came out, one of the big talking points was like, this is actually not a stretch of the canon timeline that there's a lot of locked in definitive story in. So in general, that seems like an interest right now, is to flesh out that stretch of, relatively speaking, open world. But for Maul, and again, we issued the spoiler warning at the top, but we will be talking not only about things that happened to Maul before, but things that happened to Maul in the future. I think that's part of what makes this really fascinating. And this is not unique in Star Wars. We know the end point. Like, so to this is not going to be a redemption story note that you shared. How could it be? Like, I guess there could be a mini redemption,
there could be a blip.
And a
and a backslide.
a redemption. We do love a redemption blip and a backside. Very human. That would be interesting. But like, you know, we know that moment at the end of Solo is coming with Crimson Dawn and the crime syndicate. We have crime syndicate canon in the past, but what we really know is coming is what happened in Rebels, right? Malachor and being stranded on that planet for years, and the state that Maul was in when he wound up with Ezra and Kanan and our beloved Rebels crew. And we know the end point, like, definitively for this character also in Rebels. So
somehow Palpatine returned. So, like, you know, they could do anything they wanted, I guess, with Maul. But, like, his death scene in Rebels is so good that I would be quite angry. As much as I love Maul, I'd be quite angry if they figured out a way to resurrect him.
I think that you are wise, as always, to remind us that somehow Palpatine returned. We should never go too long without saying that out loud. But I think, like, they already did it with Maul, you know? The somehow Maul returned. Like, this dude got cut in half.
And somehow he returned.
And somehow Maul returned. And that is like such a delight.
And I don't think
you realize how he survived, but they did it with him already.
I don't think Whitwer would want to do that, because I was actually just like watching some old interviews with him this morning. And there was one interview he gave where he was just sort of like years ago talking about like, if Palpatine comes back, that ruins the fairy tale of the original trilogy. He's like, it ruins the fairy tale. And then he's like, and then later he was like, okay, they did it. That was someone else's fairy tale, I guess. And that's fine, but it's not the fairy tale that he's a prequel defender, and I think a kind of a sequel hater, which, you know, makes sense for the camp that he falls into and it's Star Wars. But yeah, I don't think he would want to do a somehow Maul returned. I think he would want to do something in the time period he reiterates again and again is like 15 unknown years scattered across Maul's lifetime. Where are we going to go? And he's like, this is the most important place to go, because in 18 BBY. And I love that you're like, they didn't give us a date. They gave us a year, but she's like, what's the month? What's the day? How many minutes?
Well, they're doing a lot of like if you read the StarWars.com preview pieces and the way that they were kind of setting up the show, they were saying like a few years after his old master Darth Sidious succeeded in launching the Imperial Empire. That's a quote. And a few years into the creation of the Empire, shortly after the conclusion of the Clone Wars. It's like, is it 17? Is it 16? 18 seems to be like where people have landed.
Yeah, Sam has been saying about a year. That's what he's been saying. So about a year is about as close as we're going to get.
Yes, but, so obviously, like, part of what happens in the first two episodes is that we meet the latest, the newest. Okay, here's another master and apprentice who survived Order 66 on the Jedi
Order 66. Biggest flop in all orders ever.
Overrated, underrated, or properly rated. Order 66. It's something to think about.
Oh, deeply overrated. So many Jedi survived. Are you kidding me? What sloppy work, man.
But like, it's a great place to set it, because so to very quickly run. So Phantom Menace 32 BBY. So that's in the past, right? Mm-hmm. Clone Wars, when Maul comes back into the story and we realize that he has been living on this trash planet, his brother, Savage Opress, who we'll hit a couple times today quickly, reunited the episode Brothers, the end of season 4 of Clone Wars. That's 20 BBY. So like, there's a lot of Maul's story that comes in Clone Wars that happens actually in a very concentrated period of time, which is sort of interesting to go back and like reflect on. It feels like it's a much longer stretch than it is, because it's over many seasons and many episodes of Clone Wars. The Lawless season 5, one of my favorite episodes of Star Wars ever, 2019-ish BBY. That is the spoiler alert moment when Maul kills my beloved Satine and is working very hard not only to cement his control of Mandalore, but get revenge on Obi-Wan. And so much of the Maul story, Kenobi, is rooted in revenge. Revenge against Palpatine, revenge against Obi-Wan, revenge against the characters who have hurt him directly or just abandoned him to some sort of fate of being forgotten.
This is why Maul is so fun, because like he's so smart and he's so conniving and he's so persuasive and he's so good. And when he decides to like, convince a whole crowd of whoever it is that they want to follow him or an individual person, he doesn't always succeed on this apprentice hunt, obviously, but like, he's so convincing. He's so smart. He's so badass. And then it gets away from him because of his, his obsessive need for revenge, his temper. And so this like fatal flaw in this incredibly accomplished man is, the being evil is also a flaw, I would say, but also, just
blinded
for our
by
purposes.
Vengeance.
Yeah. Blinded by vengeance. Also tough to get your job, to get the work done. You know?
And like, it's fascinating to find him in a few stretches of his story, but in this show, this is like going to clearly be a big thing. This is a big emphasis at how he is pitching Devin and his like, hey, come be my apprentice recruitment framing is like, all right, I'm going to tell you why the Empire is bad. Fascinating, right? Again, he just despises Sidious, despises Palpatine.
Person makes a great point.
But he's not like Team Jedi now, right? He's also like the Jedi are still a problem too, and here's why. So he is operating from a position of all of these other factions of power have either wronged me or are wrong or both.
Right.
I am the one who can see it clearly. But in order to pursue my ends and these thoughts of fate and destiny, which like, of course, if you were the chosen apprentice of Palpy, Mr. Rule of Two, you're going to have a little bit of a God complex. And then it's going to really fuck you up if you've been not just like figuratively, but literally left to rot on a trash planet while you are replaced more than once. That's going to fuck with your head. And so one of the things we both really love the stretch of season 7 of Clone Wars when, we get the Ahsoka Maul duel and also like Maul is with Ahsoka as Order 66 is unfolding at the end of Clone Wars. It's not just what a great time everybody had. It's not just the like, okay, we have clarified where he is at this key moment. It's the way he talks about Anakin and Palpatine's plots and what awaits and the great hands and tides of fate. And then you move into what we know awaits because we've seen it already. Before we actually saw the end of Clone Wars, we had seen Rebels, and we know that when he's dying in Obi-Wan's arms, and that's in Twin Sons, the season 3 Rebels episode where Maul and Kenobi have their fateful duel on Tatooine, that's set in 2 BBY. And Maul's like, You hear about the Chosen One? And like, that is what kind of gives him peace, even though he has lost to his greatest foe. So this story is set right after Order 66. The Solo glimpse that we got, his holo call with Kira, 10 BBY, and then his Rebels appearances, Twilight of the Apprentice, the season 2 finale, just an iconic stretch of Star Wars. If you're like, I'm interested in the Star Wars animation, it seems like a lot. What should I do? Just start with Twilight of Apprentice and then get back to us.
Great.
That's 3 BBY. That's the Ezra apprenticeship recruitment. So that's like a really far in the future still. There's a lot to tell us about Maul and this crime syndicate path, especially because what we know from the Solo moment is like, he's the Crimson Dawn stretch of the story is like a dominant force in his life then. But by the time he's on Malachor in Rebels, he's a
broken man.
He's a husk. So it's got to go right and then it's got to go wrong. And that's the Maul story. Yeah. Anything else we can learn about him, what a treat.
I think also just like emotionally, you touched on this, but like emotionally to have been told that you are a chosen one of some kind, you are stolen from your family when you're a child. Ain't that the way? And then groomed by Palpatine and told I am the one and you are number 2 and we're going to change this world. And so to find yourself in 18 BBY and the world has changed the way your master always said it was, but you have been left in the dust behind, and you're at the dawn of this new era, all this stuff that you worked for, that you were brought up to believe that you would be a part of, and you were just not a part of it. You were on the outside. And so in that way, he has like, his feeling about the Jedi Order, which has always been so sneering, but it's also like, what are you without the institution that raised you? And this is where he finds Devin, like this question of like, what have you been groomed to be? What has let you down? How can you define how you go forward? If we're not exactly Sith, what are we? If we're not exactly Jedi, what are we? And are we that together? And like, how can I just think this is so fertile, such fertile territory for this particular character to confront to all that he helped build and all that he is not a part of.
Yes, that's a fantastic way to put it. And I think the crime syndicate aspect of the story is an interesting offshoot then of his relationship to the Force and to the Sith Order and to combating the Jedi. Because on the one hand, I think like inherently the crime syndicate stuff is like a little less interesting just as like a core germ of Star Wars story than you were Palpatine's apprentice and then you were in Duel of Fates. Except like Maul is a part of just such a seismic aspect of the story that this other stuff feels like, oh, and the other parts of Maul's life. But when it's done well, it can be not only refreshing in its variance, right? There are certainly going to be aspects of the story that are rooted in a Force user is seeking to become a master to an apprentice. That's clear. That's the role that Devin is going to play in this story. That is something that Maul is after. The way that he is talking in these first 2 episodes about to Rook cast one of his, because the Mandalorian commandos are here as well. So he's like maintaining these different aspects of his identity. That's something else we love, obviously, is like you lose a complete sense of yourself and then you're stitching it together from other parts of you. And when is that empowering and part of some sort of journey of self-actualization? And when is it something you're doing because you need to approximate the grasp of the thing you lost? And that's part of what is so interesting to me about the crime syndicate placement and positioning for Maul. It's cool to be on like a new planet like Janix and be with some new characters like Lawson and see what the actual story inside of this season and maybe the show more broadly will be on the path from Shadow Collective, which we've gotten a lot of canon about already, to the new era. Crimson Dawn has been here, but the new era of Crimson Dawn and what will Maul's role in all of that be? But the thing that's like most interesting to me about it is that he is just thinking of everything, including the syndicates, as a way to seek revenge. He talks about that constantly across these 2 episodes,
it's his
right?
Favorite topic.
Demas, Vario, Krim. It's just a list of the fuckers who've wronged him, who he's either going to use, who he's either going to try to use for his ends or eliminate. And the fact that he's mixed up in this Shadow Collective in the first place sprung from Maul and Talzin trying to gain more galactic power to challenge Palpatine. So it's this, I think it's a really smart way to tell a Star Wars story that threads the needle nicely of giving us a new lens for a new story while connecting to the root of what made this character a relevant part of our Star Wars experience in the first place. Because for him, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it all ties back to that place. It's not instead of, it's in addition to and a path back to, always.
I think it's also really the potential here for Devin as a character. I'm not like as interested in, obviously, because I don't have all this like history with her.
Right.
But there's potential here. But Devin as a potential stand-in for, I don't know if this is apocryphal or not, though it has been reported, widely reported, and there claims to be sourcing with George Lucas. But like this idea that there was his whole plan for a sequel trilogy was for Maul to have an apprentice, a Twilight apprentice, Darth Talon, and that this was like a story that George wanted to tell. And so like this seems to be part of, among the many other things that Dave Filoni is up to at Lucasfilm, part of it is sort of like reclaiming some of these George ideas and sort of like how can we rework it slightly. So if we're not going to put it in like exactly the sequel series spot, where can we put a story of Maul and and a young woman who becomes his apprentice for a time until she doesn't, because we know what is in the future for Maul. But like, what parallels can we build between the Anakin-Ahsoka relationship and this potential Maul and Devin relationship, if this does work out that way? I don't know. Again, I have not seen past the first 2 episodes, so it's possible that Devin's just like, no, I want to stay good, but I don't think that's what's going to happen because that would be very boring. And so, like, what potential parallels are there for him? And like, how can if he has all this resentment, and this was potential rich text for The Acolyte as well, a story that we're not going to get to follow forward. But like, given how angry he is at what happened to him, but then he's using the tools of the person who like stole him and groomed him to, forge his path forward. And again, he's like tried to make this connection with Ahsoka, has tried to make this connection with Ezra. We've seen him like thirsting for with his brother, like seen him thirsting for another who will be loyal to him, who will not abandon him on a trash planet or anywhere else, but who will just like be unquestionably loyal to him. Will he find it in this young woman here, or is it forever not available to him? In this lifetime. I don't know.
I love Maul's ceaseless, and that is one of the fun things. This is an area where I think knowing the future is actually really enriching for the character, because it's like he can't quit. He can't stop trying to center that relationship in his life. And sometimes it goes away because, when he made his brother, his apprentice, Savage, Palpatine killed him. And then basically left Maul alive to like torment him.
Wallow.
That duel of Maul and Savage versus Palpatine in the same stretch of story where Maul kills Satine, like that is just such an incredibly harrowing stretch of Maul's arc. The fact that he was weaned on the rule of two and thinks about that kind of like master apprentice role, as many Sith, but also of course Jedi do, as this like sacred thing, a way to cement yourself in that dynamic, a path to power. Certainly for Maul, it's always, and I think most of all in the Ezra stretch in Rebels, when he is trying to woo Ezra / Jabba to be his apprentice, does he want the Sith holocron? Yeah. Like, is there a very practical reason he's trying to do that? Yes. Is it all leading him to try to find Kenobi? Yes. Does it go horribly wrong for him? Yes. But does he also want to be chosen and worthy? Yeah. And like the way in Twilight of the Apprentice, he is not only relishing in the prospect of Ezra working with him and Maul leading Ezra to the dark side and being a figure whose tutelage can lead somebody to, in a very disturbing way, tap into a deeper, more fully realized sense of self. He's also like, this guy, Kanan Jarrus, pause, I'm going to go blind him and just remind everybody of how superior
you have been doing it, Patchwork, but can we just like quickly go back and just say like, he killed Satine.
Yeah.
He blinded Kanan Jarrus. What else is on his resume that we want to talk about?
I mean,
those are pretty significant things.
I think Qui-Gon would love to enter the chat.
Would like to be involved, perhaps.
He's done a lot. Maul has done a lot.
There's also like the role that Crimson Dawn plays in the future in the rebellion. Like yes. Crimson, like his, as you said, Crimson Dawn predates his control of it, but his like wrangling of Crimson Dawn then becomes integral to the rebellion as part of the larger sprawling story of how the Death Star plans, the second Death Star plans, make their way. So like his fingerprints are consequentially all over everything. And again, there's just like, he's done so much. Qui-Gon being very important, Satine being very important to you personally, Kanan Jarrus being very, very important to Freddie Prinze Jr., but like that,
I love Kanan.
That there is no coming back from that. So instead, it can only just be fun to watch him. And also, it's fun, but it's also emotionally compelling because he's so vulnerable. He's so wounded. And he's so sad that, like, for me, that's just undeniably interesting to watch.
Yeah. I think I obviously normally would agree that there's no coming back from that. I think in Star Wars, there so consistently is that's where it feels more like the fact that we just know that's not going to be the case for Maul is more clarifying than what would feel like ethically or morally. Like Anakin is responsible for like
in his final hours, like on the way out.
Ben Solo, a lot of like mass murderers who get their moment in the sun. The son or the twin sons on the way out, for sure.
On the way out.
And Maul did get a very peaceful embrace at the end, so that's something. How is Janix working for you as a setting 2 episodes in? This new planet, this kind of like hub of criminal syndicate activity, mid-rim, you've got your city, you've got your surrounding jungles. You like a new planet?
Sure. No, I mean, its way, it's very Coruscant coded. You've got levels, and there are some chases inside of this that could take place on Coruscant if you wanted them to. But like, the setting of the planet is less interesting to me than the tone of the world, which is, they're doing a clear like noir sort of storyline, in that you've got this cat and mouse game between Lawson, voiced by the incredible Wagner Moura,
amazing,
and Maul. You've got moments in these 2 episodes where each of them sort of like stands and regards an image of the other and just really is like, who's that guy?
Yeah.
What's his deal? Very like Cyril Karn looking at Cassian Andor Hollow at the beginning of Andor. So, and you get it on the soundtrack. You get this sort of like, bluesy, noiry horn music for Lawson as he's sort of stalking around the streets. It's very Blade Runner in that sense, because it's just like, like the way this sort of like high tech noir look of everything. And then just sort of the way in which they have artistically done it with like, hand painting over some things, and the matte work that they've done on the backgrounds just gives it a different energy than the other animated series that we've seen. And that is just like, to put such an artistic stamp on something, because there's been a lot of critiques over the years of Star Wars animation and its look. And for a lot of people, they don't love how it looks. And I think sometimes it can look amazing, and sometimes I'm just sort of like, this doesn't look that, the way that like a Spider-Verse movie, you're just sort of like, I'm watching art, And so I think this is like not in the realm of Spider-Verse necessarily, but it's like inching in that direction where they're just like trying to take some artistic liberties with the watercolor bleed of the background, and all of that just makes it look to me like a rain-soaked noir-y story, and that's really exciting to me. So
I love that. It does look very wet. Yeah. And not just because everybody wants to fuck Maul because he's hot, though also for that reason.
Sure.
I love tracking the evolution of the look. And obviously we have things like visions that are definitionally distinct because animation studios are coming in to put their specific visual stamp on Star Wars. But to track the evolution, even inside of Clone Wars and then from Clone Wars to Rebels into Bad Batch. And this, I agree, really feels simultaneously like it gives you that, we're on a new planet. Okay, could it have been this other place? Familiarity, but a really specific sense. And like, I think the styling of the lightsabers so far are reflective of that.
That bleed. Yeah.
Yes. And like, because you have, Maul's double-bladed saber. I loved getting to hear Lawson say laser sword, like fun little moments like that across these 2 episodes. But this is one of the most iconic things in Star Wars. And then to give it that, we've seen things that look like this a little bit across the Tales shorts, or even that really kind of like angry crackle of Kylo Ren's saber.
I was thinking about Kylo a lot.
Yeah. And the way that it's like when you think about a bleeding kyber crystal and what that even is and what it tells you about the dark soul and the power that the character who's wielding that saber has willfully, intentionally unlocked to manifest that visually in this animation with like the paint style. But the sense that the evil is bleeding out, it can't be contained, looks so cool. And I love the kind of like Vader Rogue One-esque dark hallway entrance against the pipes in the second episode.
Fight, as the internet is calling it. Like, the Maul fight. No, but like his entrance in that first episode, I think that's one of like the coolest entrances. Like Murder Cloak, saber out, dismounting of the spaceship. I saw some like visual comps around the internet of like comparing it to like Obi-Wan on Mustafar, and in the way that it is like a face-on sort of like descending of the stairs, like I can see the comp. To me, and I went back and rewatched it, this is like so Kylo in The Force Awakens coded for me, and that's just like another all-timer entrance of a character. And so
agreed.
I was like, this is what he deserves. This, he's worthy of this. This is just like a really sick entrance, and I deserve it, and Sam Witwer deserves it. So
I really agree. You both deserve it. You do. Do you think the fact that everybody involved in the show keeps invoking heat is how we're going to finally get CR, Chris Ryan himself, to watch some Star Wars animation? You think?
I don't know.
You think we can do it?
I love heat, obviously, and I get it. I would just like to say this dynamic existed before heat, and heat didn't invent it. It might have codified it for a certain generation, but like I was actually talking to Van and Rob about this the other day because like I was talking about the Scarlet Pimpernel, which is like one of my favorite stories set during the French Revolution, but that is like a cat and mouse sort of, two opposing forces and circling each other sort of story. And, there's plenty of versions before that. Like, but yeah, I get why heat is invoked. Yeah. Like it matters to a lot of people. Another sort of like ancient kind of tale that we're really dealing with here is we're dealing with this sort of like Shakespearean archetype of the like wounded bastard who's been who feels overlooked and abandoned. If you want to talk about like Much Ado or Lear or whatever, like this is a character that shows up again and again in Shakespeare of just sort of like, I'm not the chosen one. I have been cast out and abandoned and overlooked, and I think I deserve better. I am better than the chosen one over there. So like, why did this happen to me, and how can I plot and plan and break everything down to have my vengeance? And so I just love that. Yeah, sure, we're dealing with heat. Yes, we're also dealing with Shakespeare. We're dealing with a lot of things.
The bard is always welcome.
Will CR watch this? Not in a million years.
I'd say probably
nothing
not.
Will ever induce him. Yeah, it's not.
He's missing out. He's missing out. On the cat and mouse front, anything else about Lawson or that character set that you want to hit?
So Wagner Moura is so exciting to me because I love him in general, but honestly, it wasn't Narcos. The thing that he did that really, really got me was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, where he played the wolf/death, and it is genuinely one of the best animation voice performances I've ever experienced in my entire life. It was scary. It was so good. And so I was like really excited to see that he was in the voice cast here. But Richard Ayoade is like one of my favorite guys of all time. He's already voiced a droid in Mandalorian. Like he's, but he is built to voice droids. And so I'm excited for him because I know he's a Star Wars fan. So I hope that he enjoyed doing this. I just think he's so funny. He's one of the driest people alive. This is just kind of how he talks all the time. And so to get paid by Lucasfilm to do it, great. I love that for him. But I like on a personal level, Richard Ayoade. I'm just like, this is for the Anglophiles who love him. So here he is.
My favorite droid in the show so far through the two-part premiere is Spybot.
You're right.
He's elite and iconic and hysterical, and the way that he talks shit to everybody that he's trying to best as he hacks into the systems is hysterical. But of course, the best moment was when he sort of like floated over to Maul, who scratched him on the head like he was greeting his pet. I just can't wait for more Spybot. Delightful. But I do like Two Boots quite a bit as well.
The design on Spybot, which is like one light that looks like, and then the other eye looks like it's squinting, and then his like disc looks like a jaunty little hat, and then he's just like so much attitude. I'm a huge fan of Spybot. And he does the he does the Nedry from Jurassic Park, which like, if Spybot's a fan of Jurassic Park, he's cool with me.
Oh, man. Yeah. Jurassic Park and a wig watch on a droid. I mean, extremely Joe core right there.
Yeah,
great stuff.
Shit. Yeah.
I am really enjoying the Two Boots energy as well. And I love just like, I'm interested so far in how quickly through these two episodes we've gotten to glimpse a lot of key Lawson dynamics. So like Lawson and Two Boots as partners, you had the little moment like Two Boots bringing over the calf. And Lawson's like, obviously guzzling caffeine, couldn't be us, right? And Two Boots is doing this just because it's part of the ritual. He's a droid. He's not drinking the coffee, but it's part of what they share. But we see already the seeds of a disagreement between them, because Two Boots more than once in this episode is like, shouldn't we call in the Empire? And Lawson's like, hit pause on that. When Lawson is talking to the chief, he's like, we don't need to bring the Empire into this yet. So he seems, and this is great shorthand for us, to be suspicious of the Empire, to be anti-Empire, to not want the Empire on Janix, and that, of course, warms us to him.
Well,
immediately.
Yeah. Yes. And there's also just like ways in which he is working outside the system of the institution that he belongs to, right? And so like, again, when it comes to a potential, we're not so different, you and I, conversation between Lawson and Maul, like these are some great early breadcrumbs for something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also some complicated family dynamics for Lawson. So that's another parallel. He has a son, Riley, who seems to be playing space lacrosse. They have said that this is called Bodkin. Can't wait to learn more. We get the uniform, we get the ball, etc. But their moment is just like Lawson basically showing up, apologizing for not being around, promising to be around more soon and take some time, and then immediately failing to go back to work. And this family photo, which is very Ezra coded, this photo that is like following a character around in a Star Wars animated story. Lawson has it on his desk. Riley's looking at it. The mom's not there, so we have more to learn there. And then there are vibes with Rena Sewell, this other crime figure. And the fact that we get not only the vibes between Rena and Lawson, like the allusion to whatever their shared past is and something that has transpired between them, she is going to be connected not only to him on some personal level, it seems, but also he goes to her, he's like, what's the Shadow Collective? Have you heard of it? He doesn't have you heard of it, lad, on the Shadow Collective, but literally he's like, have you heard of it? I haven't. Can you fill me in a little bit here? And she's got intel. So we got to see a lot actually about like who is in Lawson's life and what that looks like as he attempts to find this person who's on an ISB must alert list.
The photo is also that photo also struck me as just like very noir coded as well.
Yes.
Like, yeah. So Rena Sewell, as voiced by the icon Pamela Adlon. Her daughter, Gideon Adlon, is the voice of Devin. So this is like, I love when Star Wars does this, where they're like, get your mom in, like, it'll be great. Gideon Adlon's really interesting because she was in this movie Blockers, which I love, and I thought she was so good in that. Yeah. And I have just wanted more for her, and I've been waiting for her to like really burst on the scene. So I'm not saying that like voicing a character where you don't get to see the actress's face is really going to do it, but like I'm excited to see her in the mix because there's like ways in which Devin like both was and wasn't super interesting to me in these first two episodes. So I'm just like excited to see where this goes because this is an actress that I really like. And so there's potential here, but like you have to start her from a place of like, no, you're evil, sort of thing. And then we'll see where we go from there. So,
let's talk about the apprentice search and Devin for another minute or two here. We have Daki and Devin and they're separated.
Use his full government name.
I am going to call him Daki because I think Iku Dio Daki is
Iku Dio Daki. Iku Dio Daki.
Though having Dennis Haysbert in Star Wars is a thrill. It was a real treat. And that was really one where instantly, like he said half a word. And I was like, is that Dennis Haysbert? Yeah. Oh my God. So that was fun.
I texted you when Charlie Bushnell, who voiced Riley, who was in Percy Jackson, I was like, I know those weird muddy consonants anywhere. I know this voice. Yeah.
It's really a great cast.
And
it's fun.
Chris Diamantopoulos, we were just referencing one of his most iconic performances in Silicon Valley with This Guy Fucks. So here he is again, like just really doing it. So.
Vario's been a riot so far. It's just, I liked when he was like turn around to Demas just so that he could look into his eyes as he killed him. That was some dark shit. That was really fun. The search for the apprentice. Maul he's not just like, okay, I've stumbled upon you and this seems promising. It is, we are introduced to Daki and Devin. We see that they are not like totally in alignment, right?
She's Daki, like, we gotta eat, bro.
And she's like, I'm gonna steal some fruit. And he's like, we can rely on the kindness of strangers. She gets taken into custody.
She's like, I've read Streetcar Named Desire. It doesn't turn out well for Blanche, actually, so I'm not going to do that.
Exactly. Maul is talking to Rook like, the one I seek is here. I see them. The clearer, the closer I get. Something else. Our actions serve a greater purpose. Events are falling into place. She is a Jedi. I shall fashion her into a weapon which can help us destroy all those who have betrayed me, including Darth Sidious. He didn't need to say it. We knew, but it was helpful that he said it. So he feels this like magnetic galactic pull to her and to her power.
Yeah.
She recognizes him. This is fascinating. When he opens her, because she's like in the cell across from Vario, when he looks in and opens that door, she's like,
Maul.
Maul.
Yeah. She's like hot.
The legend of Maul and the pull of Maul.
Do you think Maul, like in The Stranger and the Acolyte, do you think Maul will take a bath, or can you do that with robot legs? I'm not sure, but like emerge from a pool, just to dazzle his apprentice?
It's entirely possible. The back scar appreciation stretch of Acolyte felt very specific to our experience with Manny, but we love to admire
Maul hates
Maul.
A shirt. So
he does. He loves a murder cloak, but he hates a shirt. And part of the reason he loves a murder cloak is because it helps to conceal his identity, and part of it is because it's just a real quick path to the open chest.
It really is.
You got to respect
it. Is this character of Devin going to be the Darth Talon apprentice figure from elsewhere in the legends? And this idea of calling her a weapon, right? Fashion her into a weapon, like this is my talon, this is my claw that I will use to sort of like scratch at the Emperor of the Empire. Thinking about like these great names like Maul and Savage and stuff like that, I'm excited. Devin cannot stay. Devin is I think a very bad Star Wars name, and I would like an upgrade for this young woman. Devin.
Do you want it to be Darth Talon?
Yeah, I do want it to be Talon. I think Talon is better than Devin.
I am excited to see where the Devin stuff goes, and I think I agree with what you said earlier. It seems unlikely to me that the way this story goes is that she's like, actually, I have, that it stays where it starts. Because, we get this great line from Maul, which is part of the recruitment pitch to Devin, but is also sort of like the mission statement for not only why you do a Maul show, but why Filoni and co are so interested in continuing to explore more Maul in the first place. You're operating under the premise that I'm somehow the villain here, but it is not as simple as good and evil. Evil. The way that Sam said evil, I couldn't even hope with 1,000 tries to get even close to how much sauce he put on evil. It was wonderful. So he's like, I can show you a pathway to the power that the Jedi didn't teach you. But he's also like, I'm not exactly who or what you think I am. And part of the way he frames that is everyone's bad on all sides, right? So the idea that Devin starts by saying, I have this assumption of you, and ends there seems very flat and stagnant and unlikely. And especially because not only are we meeting her and Daki on the run, but she is still with her former master, moving away from the old and into the new and making that such an active choice. Like, she's on the run and in a perilous circumstance, but she does have somebody, the closest somebody. And if the way this goes is that she has to choose Maul over Daki, that would be really interesting and devastating. That would be devastating. Or maybe he's not going to make it. And then in that even more desperate strait, that's when she goes to Maul. I mean, who knows? But then the question is if they do end up as master and apprentice, how long does that last? Or is this another does the failure for Maul come immediately or eventually is the question, right? Like, does he fail to actually win Devin to his cause? Or
I think
does he win her?
I think he's got to win
and
her
then lose her.
And then someone, Vader, who knows, kills her. Like,
so it's going to be more of the Maul Savage mold there, where he made his brother his apprentice, and then Palpatine killed his brother, and that was pretty rough. And that's the other thing. So Maul has lost Savage and Mother Talzin, his brother, his mother, really recently in the canon. So he's like in, even for Maul, a very raw and wounded place where he has kind of like reconnected to the actual family that he was stolen away from and then lost them to.
There's this line he has, right? Indoctrinated since you were a child. And it's just sort of like, he's just talking about himself. Which is, we love a villain who projects. I mean, I'm not rooting for like a young woman character to show up, be lured to the dark side, and then die to motivate a male character for his ongoing vengeance. That's not my fave, obviously. But like, no. I mean, is she going to like be lured to the dark side and then make a different choice and turn a different direction? Maybe. I don't know. That could be maybe a little bit more interesting. I would like to go back on my she's going to die. I never root for that. So
who knows how many seasons she'll be around for. She can die later.
Changing my bid.
She can make a different choice later. Is there anything else about either Maul's history as an apprentice with Palpatine and then a discarded apprentice, or his pursuit of his own apprentice, Savage, Ezra, etc., Savage in the past, Ezra in the future, that you want to note here in terms of how we should be thinking about Maul and Devon, or have we covered it all?
I just think, it's always seduction with him.
Yes.
And again, with love and respect to like Iko Diodaki, like who's,
You really are going to say it all every time. I admire it.
I mean, that's a great Star Wars name.
It's
Devon
fun.
sucks as a Star Wars name, so I'm going to respect the effort. But if Iko Diodaki is just sort of like croning around with a bit of pipe that is definitely also a lightsaber, you know what I mean? Like that's not. And then you're like, the other alternative is this hot, bare-chested, horny guy.
Yeah. Also croning around with a pipe, but in a different way. Am I right?
I wouldn't say he's croning, but he's dragging around some serious pipe. And that's
oh God.
How
Great
does
stuff.
it work down there? Cybernetic, I guess.
Metal. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
Get some stuff done.
Yeah. Is it like articulated? What did his mom do for him down there?
It's a great question. When Mother Talzin used her final burst of power before eventually being killed by Grievous to say, I'm going to restore your body and also your mind, did she think about his dick and what he'd be able to do with it?
I'd like to think, as a good mother should, I'd like to think that she gave him like a significant piece of pipe that can move.
She wanted
articulated
her son to have a rich and full life, you know? So there's that. And to get revenge on Palpatine. Not sure if that's come up before.
If she didn't, and he's like smooth like a Ken doll down there, then like that might explain some of his ongoing frustrations in life as well.
I mean, he's gone through a few different bottom halves over the years. So he's not like bound to one forever. He switches it up. You think he ever goes back to the spider legs just for fun? They seemed like a blast.
On like to spice things up on a certain night, he's like, should he go full spider? Why not, baby?
Yeah. The Syndicate.
Is there any way the social breakup from this episode is not us talking about Maul's cybernetic penis created by his mother?
Seems unlikely.
Okay, cool.
Do you think that's what he meant when in Two Sons he said to Obi-Wan, tell me, is it the chosen one?
My
talking
dick?
About his
cybernetic
very powerful dick? Yeah. Could be. Well,
he will avenge us by he means his cybernetic dick.
Oh, God. Maul and Mandalore. We've covered it a little bit in terms of, Rook is a character and the other commandos who are here, his history with Obi-Wan, Satine. It's
Darksaber.
We love the Darksaber now and always. I do, as you know. I still kind of can't get over how that all went in Mando. Not over that yet. That's a deeply painful and traumatic thing for me to reflect on. Darksaber in animation has been consistently great. The Shadow Collective, which Lawson is trying to learn about, and we're getting some kind of helpful refresher exposition for people who aren't familiar with the canon inside of these two episodes. But I think one of the things that's just worth highlighting almost more conceptually is that as collective indicates, it is a collection of different factions. So you have Maul with his Night Brothers, right? And we see like Icarus and some other Night Brothers are in the cast here as well.
Scorn.
Yeah.
Great name. Again.
Yeah, this is
Savage, Maul, Scorn, Talon.
You're making the observation on the name front. It's real. It's making me think of Kevin, really? Kevin Lannister? Like, really? Tywin!
Devin! yeah. Kevin and Devin.
It's a great note.
No.
But the Death Watch alliance, and things go badly between Maul and Pre Vizsla, as they tend to go badly between either of those two characters and any other character.
Yeah.
The Night Owls, the Super Commandos, Black Sun, Pike, the Hutts, Crimson Dawn eventually joining the fold. The way that he now has still like strands of that. So does everybody who enters the story know the legend and lore and impact of the Shadow Collective? No, but are Maul's Mandalorian commandos still with him? Yes. Are the Night Brothers still there? Yes. Is he hunting down syndicate factions who have wronged him? Yes. Are the Pikes already back in the story? Yes. Is Crimson Dawn a part of the Maul story across the years? Yes. So like the idea of, okay, the one kind of holy, the ultimate, the paragon, the ideal, the thing that he's chasing is the apprentice. Let me surround myself with like half a dozen other groups who will say, I've chosen to follow you until I can get that other thing, is such an interesting manifestation of Maul's kind of desperate need to be picked, to be chosen.
Yeah, a real pick-me energy for Maul. And like, I think that his ability to sort of like whip up, you know, the Mandalorians, you know, and their revolution and all this sort of stuff like that is like, he can command armies, forces. During the Clone Wars, a shadow collective emerged, uniting much of the underworld. Imagine getting Black Sun, the Pikes, and the Mandalorian Death Watch to work together without killing one another. Someone did. Right. Someone is Maul. Like, he has this incredible ability. But it's not enough. He needs that sort of like one-on-one connection. You, me, you die for me. Yes. Like that's it. Because he's been alone and he will be alone again, you know? So it's, you know, when you're raised from a small child, brainwashed by the Emperor, turns out it's not a great mentally healthy place to be.
It's tough. Also, it's like, it's never sustainable. It's this kind of like amazing testament to his capacity. I am the person who could unite all those factions, and then a reminder. I think it's like, it's not subtle, but it is fitting that one of the Night Brothers who's in the story near him here is Icarus. Like, Maul is just always flying too close to the sun and his wings are melting and then he falls, or he gets cut in half and falls. So like, are all of those factions meant to be aligned? There's a reason that he has to read through in this premiere here the list of characters who have betrayed him. There's a certain aspect of it where it's like, you allowed that many people to be in a position to betray you. As the Empire has risen, we have all been made to suffer. Even the once mighty Jedi have fallen, but there are many who have prospered from my misfortune. The Pikes, Crimson Dawn, Vario. Soon they will all pay, starting with Demas. He thought he could take what was mine. You bring people close, you make an arrangement. We learn about a truce in this episode. And then like you get to the point where those guys are sitting at the table basically eating like chicken parm, it looked like. And they're like, it was delicious. Probably Maul, huh?
Delicious. Intergalactic chicken parm.
Oh, man.
I don't want to know what those chickens look like. And the way in which his vengeance on the crime syndicate once again aligns him with Lawson, who wants to clean the crime syndicate out of the city. So like, you know, in what ways can they work together? And, you know, but I love how Lawson is this character who's like a laser sword. Who's that? What's a Jedi? Like, okay, how sheltered is this, you know, gumshoe here? So
yeah, that is one of the things I'm interested in about Janix as a place and Lawson as a figure. Like, how distinct is he from the other people? Because like Rena and what she knows, is that like just because she's in that world and has access to information? Are we supposed to be gleaning from that like this information hasn't reached this place because it is outside of the flow of events that have like defined the stretch of history? Or is Lawson a little bit like, oh, I'm a little like out of the loop, out of the mix. What's been going on exactly? We can tell from the way he talks about the Empire that he knows enough about what the Empire has quickly meant to be very wary. So I'm interested to see how he kind of receives and processes what he learns over time and what that does.
He's like, guys, I don't follow the news. I was a little too busy being a bad dad and probably fucking around with Rita and a number of other sources. What's going on?
I know Two Boots brings me all of the coffees.
Yeah.
But I still have to take the time to drink them. You know?
Yeah.
He does.
He's a busy guy.
He is. Anything
also,
else?
that like mustache won't maintain itself. You know what I mean? So
it's great. How thrilled were they to be able to just slap on Academy Award nominee?
Delighted.
In the weeks leading up and the months leading up to this premiere. Great stuff. Anything we haven't hit, Joe, about these first two episodes, about Maul's history, about the kind of like core dynamics? You know, we have Maul and his followers, Maul and his family, Maul and his nemesis, Maul and the idea of the master and apprentice as these kind of core framings that have defined the canon that we've already received and that is yet to come in the future, but we have also already received. it feels like we know a lot about how this guy thinks and operates and the mistakes he tends to make and the desires that drive him, but also a lot to learn about what he's going to do in these years.
According to, the way that Sam talks about it is he's like, the Maul we meet in Clone Wars is not the Maul we meet in Rebels, is not the Maul, like that these are very different iterations in his view. And that, and it's true, like when he's abandoned on this planet or this planet, like, and his horns grow unruly and stuff like that. Like we're in a different territory. But like the question that he likes to bring up in interviews when he's asked sort of like, what are you most interested in exploring? He's like, I have questions like, why, if he's so angry at the Emperor, did Maul never reveal his identity to the Jedi? He's like, he could have called them up. He could have gotten into a space phone booth and called up the Jedi and been like, it's Palpatine, bye. And he never, ever did. So why did he never narc on Palpatine, the man who was responsible for the death of his mother and his brother and all these other, and like abandoned him and humiliated him and all this other stuff like that? He knows, and he could tell anyone, and he didn't. So why? And so like, is that a loyalty question? Is that like, we're going to learn so much more about like what it means to be loyal? Like you could be resentful, but you have to stay loyal, or what's the answer to that? I don't know, but that's a very interesting question. And I love that about Sam, that he's just sort of like, here's an inconsistency seemingly to me. So how can we can tighten, like make this more watertight in terms of like who the psychological profile of this character. So this decision seems incongruous with his other attitudes. So how can we make it feel true?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I love that he's thinking about it that way, and I'm eager to learn more about the answer to. I feel like it's likely there are a number of reasons, all of which feel like they are true to the spirit of Maul. On the one hand, I think that's why the really clear emphasis in these two episodes of like, I am after Sidious, fuck the Empire, but also the Jedi. Not super sorry that they're gone. And let me tell you, Devin, why that was never where you should have been in the first place.
Devin.
And why you don't understand your power because you were indoctrinated by these losers. Maul's words, not mine. I don't think he wants the Jedi to win and to be victorious. There's that, but it's also like he needs to be the one to win. It's some of it is like probably about how he thinks about the Jedi, and some of it is about how he thinks about himself. Like one of the little aspects of the two-part premiere that I really enjoyed that we haven't talked about yet actually was like, I love that because Devin is their prisoner, and she says that, and he's like, I'm going to make this a test, but also an opportunity. If you think you're my prisoner, that's disappointing because you can channel
only in your own mind.
Yeah. If you want to leave, go tap into your power. And like, the story beats and the particulars are different, but it was so reminiscent to me of how he tried to corrupt and woo Ezra by guiding Ezra to a place that suited Maul, but doing it in a way that was like, it made Ezra think, because it was actually happening, I am gaining a deeper understanding of my own ability. Where is that understanding leading me? If I stick with Maul, not to a good place. But I just love framing it as a test.
I can show you things those squares will never show you.
Exactly. Including this triangular Sith holocron. Yeah. Let's go.
And I won't wear a shirt while I'm doing it. Think about it.
No notes.
Just an offer.
No notes. We have 8 episodes left in season 1, 4 weeks. Our no promises on when we'll be checking back in, but I think our hope is to check in around the finale. We'll see. We'll see how the season unfolds, and we'll see if maybe we can have a chat with someone involved.
Spybot, you're getting Spybot into the studio?
Bring Spybot on House of R. What do you think Spybot would say on House of R? Would he just immediately break all of the equipment and take over Carlos's computer?
What if we could get both Spybot and Rocky in the studio at the same time for you?
Talk about a crossover event. My God.
Stay tuned to find out.
All right. We will be back in a couple days for Buffy season 4, part 2.
Correct.
And then we will be back next week to continue our Christopher Nolan rewatch memento is the plan. After that, we'll see. Keep the emails coming. Let us know what you're thinking of Maul Shadow Lord. Thank you to you, Joanna, the biggest animated Maul fan in the world. I didn't even tell you. I wore my animated Obi-Wan shirt because, it's worth observing here at the end, I guess, that your great animated love and my great animated love are sworn rivals. What do you think that double date would be like?
My real great animated love is the Fox Robin Hood, so let's not get it twisted.
Of course.
Like,
that's established canon.
That's just a fact. But Maul is
Maul's your side piece.
Yeah. You don't commit to Maul.
No. That's real. I really thought you were about to quote Shorzy on me.
No.
You don't date sluts, you just take them down. In case anyone has not seen Shorzy and is horrified. That's a quote. Women talking about men, and it's a quote. Just FYI. Okay, thank yous. Thank you to Maul, our muse. Now and always. Can't wait to see what he gets up to in the next few weeks. Thank you to Carlos Chiriboga, Scott Lee, Jacob Cornett, CT, Arjuna Ramgopowell, and Jomi Adeniran. The whole crew today. Wow. That's our Shadow Collective.
Yeah, amazing.
Goodness. We will see you in a couple days for Buffy Season 4, Part 2.
Bye.